In the quiet stillness of the Ice Age, long before cities, roads, or the footprints of modern civilization, the Earth was ruled by giants. Across vast frozen plains that stretched endlessly toward the horizon, an ancient world unfolded beneath pale northern skies. The wind whispered across grasses hardened by frost, carrying with it the distant echoes of life that had adapted to one of the harshest environments the planet had ever known. This was the world of the mammoth. Towering above the icy landscape, the woolly mammoth moved slowly but with purpose, its enormous frame wrapped in thick layers of fur that swayed gently in the cold wind. Long curved tusks arced forward like ancient ivory crescents, tools shaped by millions of years of evolution. Though massive and powerful, the mammoth was also a creature of quiet patience. Its footsteps pressed deeply into the frozen earth as it traveled across the steppe, searching for food beneath blankets of snow. The Ice Age plains were vast, stretching across what we now know as Northern Europe, Asia, and North America. Yet this was not a barren wasteland. Beneath the frost lay a surprisingly rich ecosystem, a grassland known to scientists today as the Mammoth Steppe. Here, hardy grasses, sedges, and small flowering plants formed the foundation of life. During the short summers, the frozen soil softened just enough to allow vegetation to grow. The land briefly turned green, and herds of animals gathered to feed. Among them, none were more iconic than the mammoth. A full-grown woolly mammoth could stand more than 4 meters tall at the shoulder and weigh as much as 6 modern elephants. Yet, despite its immense size, it was a gentle grazer, spending most of its day slowly sweeping snow aside with its trunk and tusks to uncover the vegetation hidden beneath. Its trunk, flexible and powerful, was an extraordinary tool. With it, the mammoth could grasp grass, lift snow, communicate with others, or comfort a young calf walking beside its mother. For mammoths, life was deeply social. They lived in close family groups led by experienced females, much like modern elephants today. These matriarchs carried with them a lifetime of knowledge, memories of safe migration routes, hidden feeding grounds, and the subtle signs of approaching danger. In a world where winter could last most of the year, such knowledge meant survival. A mammoth herd moved slowly but constantly across the plains, following ancient paths worn by generations before them. Calves stayed close to their mothers, sheltered between the massive bodies of the herd. For a newborn mammoth calf, the Ice Age was both beautiful and unforgiving. At birth, a calf weighed nearly 100 kilograms, already covered in a soft coat of fur to protect it from the biting cold. But even with this protection, the young mammoth depended entirely on the warmth and protection of its family. The herd formed a living shield. When icy winds swept across the steppe, adults gathered close together, blocking the cold with their towering bodies. When danger approached, the herd closed ranks, placing the youngest safely in the center. For predators roamed this world as well. In the distance, shadows moved across the snow, packs of Ice Age wolves, watchful and patient. Occasionally, even more formidable hunters appeared, the great cave lions, silent and powerful. Yet attacking a mammoth herd was no simple task. The adults were enormous, their tusks capable of delivering devastating blows. A united herd could face down most threats with sheer size and strength. Still, nature is always balanced by struggle. The true challenge for mammoths was not always predators, but the environment itself. Winter ruled the Ice Age. Blizzards swept across the plains, burying the grasses beneath thick layers of snow and ice. Temperatures plunged far below freezing, turning rivers into solid stone and coating the landscape in silence. Yet mammoths were perfectly designed for this frozen world. Their thick fur, sometimes over a meter long, trapped layers of insulating air close to the body. Beneath it lay a dense undercoat, even warmer than the wool of modern animals. A thick layer of fat stored beneath the skin provided additional insulation, much like the blubber of whales. Even their ears were adapted for the cold. Unlike the large ears of African elephants, mammoth ears were small and rounded, reducing heat loss in the freezing air. Every part of the mammoth's body told the story of survival in extreme conditions. And yet, despite their power and resilience, mammoths were not invincible. The Ice Age was a time of constant change. Over thousands of years, the climate shifted slowly. Glaciers expanded and retreated. Forests advanced and then disappeared again. Each change reshaped the land. And with every shift in climate, mammoths adapted, moving across continents in search of the environments that suited them best. At their peak, mammoths were among the most successful large animals on Earth. Their herds roamed from the cold plains of Siberia to the grasslands of North America. For tens of thousands of years, they thrived. But time, as always, continued its quiet march forward. Around 12,000 years ago, the Ice Age began to fade. The climate warmed. Glaciers melted. Forests spread across the plains that mammoths had once called home. Slowly, the vast grasslands shrank, replaced by dense woodlands where mammoths struggled to find the food they needed. And another new presence had begun to spread across the world: humans. Early human communities had already learned to survive in the Ice Age environment. They followed migrating animals, studied the rhythms of nature, and developed tools that allowed them to hunt even the largest prey. For these early hunters, the mammoth was both a challenge and a lifeline. A single mammoth could provide meat for weeks, hides for shelter, bones for tools, and tusks for carving. Across ancient caves and stone shelters, the image of the mammoth appears again and again, painted in charcoal and ochre by human hands thousands of years ago. These paintings reveal something remarkable. Humans did not simply hunt mammoths. They admired them. The mammoth stood as a symbol of power, endurance, and the mystery of the natural world. Yet, as centuries passed, the balance between mammoths, climate, and humans began to shift. The warming climate continued to reshape the environment. Grasslands vanished, new ecosystems emerged, and slowly the great herds grew smaller. Across the continents, mammoths disappeared one region at a time. First from mainland Europe, then from Asia, then from North America. By about 4,000 years ago, the last small populations survived only on remote Arctic islands, isolated remnants of a once great species. And then, quietly, they too were gone. Today, the mammoth no longer walks the frozen plains, yet their story remains etched into the landscapes they once shaped. Across Siberia and Alaska, their tusks still emerge from melting permafrost, silent reminders of a world that existed long before our own. Their bones lie preserved beneath ancient ice, and their image lives on in human culture, science, and imagination. But perhaps the most remarkable thing about mammoths is not just their size or their strength. It is the story they tell about the deep connection between life and the changing earth. The rise and fall of the mammoth reminds us that even the greatest creatures depend on delicate balances, climate, habitat, and the web of life around them. And in the quiet winds that sweep across the northern tundra today, if we listen closely, it is almost possible to imagine the distant echoes of their footsteps. Heavy, steady, ancient. A herd of mammoths moving slowly across the endless Ice Age plains, beneath a sky filled with snow and time.